talk, it's time to rock. Welcome to the
Time
Sunday
to
show, folks. Welcome to the Ranking the Tracks show. It's our pleasure to be here. You'll notice, folks, that we are missing one man in particular, the main man from Melbourne, the man with
Mandan.
the man that normally props us up with those guns.
Yes. Where is he? Where is he? He's
Okay,
escaped.
folks. Well, I'll tell you exactly what he's doing, folks. It's that time of the year here in this part of the world where musicians go out and make money. So he's playing a gig, and he's going to get paid more at this gig than he is hanging out talking to you and I, mate. So unfortunately, we couldn't beat that offer, Simon.
It's a disgrace, isn't it? He's following the money and not coming on with us, not foregoing it all to come on and play idiots with us.
Um,
I
he did look,
can't believe
folks.
it.
He did send his regrets, obviously, that he
Good.
couldn't be here. Did his rankings, so next time we get together, he's going to probably give us a quick 5-minute condensed version of this
Whoa.
show, because he wants to do that, because clearly, if you guys have been following us for a while, Brad in particular is a Gary Moore fan, so the Rock Professor and I will endeavour to entertain you for a little while. As usual, we ask if you want to give us your rankings and your thoughts and impressions on this album in the chat. We'll endeavour to get to those. We try to every week, don't we, Simon? But there's a couple
We
of
do.
things that have been happening on the
Great.
channel over the week. Your show that you led last week is ticking along really well.
My niche show. Thank you very much for all those people who watched it and got something from it. I did realise it was something of a niche that that Dr. Feelgood, not the best well-known band, especially across the pond in the US and things. But we do British electric blues here, and they are definitely in that genre, so they had to be on the list, like lots of other bands and things. But
Yeah.
we've had some nice comments about it. So thanks particularly to Ryan Hall, who gave it a watch and stuff and enjoyed it, which is brilliant. So thank you all for that, indulging me.
Awesome. I just want to make a comment in reply to John ZD351. I did think about you, John, but I didn't want to put any pressure on you to go out there and listen to this album. So thank you, bro, for the kind offer. You were definitely, honest to God, in my thoughts. But like I say, this time of year is a little bit chaotic for people. So having to sort of maybe cram in listening to an album last minute wouldn't have done you any justice in our show. So you are definitely on the radar for the in-between, the fill-in man.
Yeah. He didn't listen to the album, so that's all right. You could have come on, John, and ranked it without listening to it. That would have been
No.
or ranked a different album like he was doing a couple of weeks ago.
I think he'd be in this situation. He'd be better off controlling the chat, making sure the chat's ticking along.
Yeah, I think he should come on and rank a Taylor Swift album, because apparently she's all the rage, and we might get some more views.
Well, he'll do it by himself. You and him will have to do it. So I'm not gonna. I won't put myself through the torment and the pain of listening to a whole album.
We can do 1989, and then we can do the Ryan Adams version of it, not the Taylor Swift version.
Thank you. Seriously,
Anyway,
John
thank you, John.
ZD351. You did honestly crop in my mind, but then I thought, like I say, putting that pressure on you, because I know you. If I'd asked you, you would have said yes, and then you would have spent 3 hours, 5 hours of, and then yeah. And so that's not what we do here. Another good thing that's happened on the channel, Rock Professor, yesterday we had a Van Halen show here on the channel. We had Jimmy, Johnny, and Brad popped in.
Yes. I see. I see where this is going. I know. It was a good show as well. It was a good show. It was, I watched it later, having just left you a note to say, make sure you were behaving yourselves when I wasn't looking. And I'm pleased to say, and I'm pleased to say you did. It was no, it was really good. It was I thought I listened to it yesterday in the day. I thought it was pretty considered, pretty balanced. Good discussion about it, which was good.
Yeah, I think we're pretty fortunate, lucky, and blessed to have John Conklin and Jimmy come on and just talk about Van Halen things, folks. Because that's basically what the show is, and that's what we do here. We're just fans getting together, talking about albums and music. So, again, we like to tell you and remind you of this. We're not experts. The Rock Professor is the only expert here. All of us are just fans and, just offering opinions and thoughts. So you can either agree with what we say or disagree. But the good thing about having John and Jimmy is that we've got Jimmy on, who is more leaning towards the David Lee Roth era, and that balances John and I that sort of tend to lean, well, actually, that balances me that tends to sort of lean towards the Sammy Hagar era, and John runs the continuum, Simon.
Yeah. Yes, that's right, and that's good, and I thought it was all, pretty considered stuff, and covered the angles and things. So hats off to you for doing that as a thing. I'd like to say, but I'm this Rock Professor in brackets self-appointed.
I'm just going to take up one point though that I made on the show yesterday, folks. That resonated with a couple of folks in the chat, and I think it's something that we need to be aware of as we mature and get older and grow older ourselves, along with the musicians, the singers, the guitar players, the guys, the chicks that we follow. We're all getting older, Simon. So as we get older, we're all going to say things, that don't quite fit with what's happening in reality. We're going to assume a lot of things. We're going to assume because, while the body and the mind might be getting a little bit older, sometimes, I don't know about you, but when I think back of something and someone tells me it was 35 years ago, I go, oh, shit, it only feels, Simon, like 5 years ago, you see? So, the point that I'm making, is that, we shouldn't be too hard on some of these guys and girls because they are getting older. And, I think Sammy Hagar, when he got Satch to do some EVH riffs, who clearly wasn't expecting it, he just thought straight out of the blue, that a guitar player is going to do that, that he's just going to come out and cut the mustard.
Blasting. Yeah. Can't you do them all? Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have you had that? People come up and go, "Oh, can you play that?" And you go,
yes.
No. And they kind of look at you like, "Really? You can't play Bohemian Rhapsody?"
Yes.
Well, no, not really, because it's a piano song for starters. But I've had that at quite a lot of gigs. People come and ask you for, like, "Oh, do you do this song? Can you play this?" No. It's like, and they look at you like slightly askance, going, "You can't play that." I said, "What sort of band are you?" Or a band that hasn't practiced that, so it's quite difficult.
That's why I don't take that to our local blues jam, because people are going to ask me to do Eruption. But if I take that to our local blues jam, no one asks me to do anything.
Nobody even asks you to play.
I play. Come on. But you know what I mean? No one says, come out and play Little Wing.
Fortunately, yes.
But I think that's a point that we need to be aware of, folks. That a lot of the folks that we follow are in their 80s now. So
and also when you're inside stuff, you don't take it nearly as seriously as that, do you? Come on, come on, Joe, knock us off a riff or two, you know. And he's like,
Yeah.
blimey, all right, see what I can crack up, you know. And you know, and it doesn't go with it, whatever. Gives you, I mean, let's be fair, gives you a lot of publicity, doesn't it? You know, if we're trying to sell a tour, what better publicity than that, you know?
Well, I
A
don't
bit of
think that was done.
controversy and a
I
bit
don't
of
think that was
publicity and a bit
done
of
deliberately.
can he
That
do it
was,
or can't he? And a bit of knife
yeah,
edge stuff.
yeah.
No, it
I
wasn't.
refuse
No,
to
it wasn't.
believe
It
that
wasn't that you see my point. It wasn't done deliberately, but actually,
yeah.
no, it's not. No, I wasn't suggesting it was done deliberately. I'm
Oh,
suggesting
okay.
that all the the publicity. There's no bad publicity about it. It's all good.
No. And Joe
You know,
Satriani doesn't need to
I say,
apologise to
don't they?
anybody, to any journalist, to any hack, to any YouTuber, to any bedroom guitar player. Doesn't need to. Simon. He's done it all. He's
No,
got it.
except me. No, that's right. I mean, he'd be fine. But yeah,
The world
it's
doesn't
interesting.
revolve around YouTube channels, folks.
You astonish me. Even my world doesn't revolve around YouTube channels. You should hear my children on the subject.
It doesn't.
Never mind that, Dad. Never mind going to bed early, Dad. Take me to work.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to kick off the show
Yeah,
soon.
okay.
Thank you guys for allowing us to yakety yak, yak. You know, remember a couple of shows ago, someone
Don't
made
talk
this
back.
comment. You know, 30 minutes into this bloody show, and you're still yakking. And then Derek Clacton goes, but it's a yak show.
Thank you, Derek, for supporting us. You know. We're gonna warm up, haven't we? You know, as you said, the older you get, the longer run you have to take. Run up you have to take, don't you? Get up to
There's
speed,
one thing you're going to
blimey.
be getting on this show. You're going to get yak.
Yakety yak. Yeah, they got more rabbit than Sainsbury's. Why don't you give it a rest? Obscure reference for you. Let me say, shall I say hi? I'll say hi to everyone in the chat. So, Christopher Lysova. Good morning, Christopher.
No,
Ellen,
brother.
Sol. Good morning, Ellen. Thank you for joining. Holly Lewis. Morning, Holly. You're worried that when she searches the 5150 show, another channel, was it Daryl Holcomb comes up, which is how these things work. I've done that a lot. We get a lot of him mixed in with us. Holly, don't worry. Gret Zeppelin, good morning. How are you? Hope you're good. Nelson Rodriguez. Nelson, good morning. From a cold and sunny UK. John ZD351. Morning, John. Hope you're good. And sad you're not on. But there we are. I think that's everyone who's made a comment so far. John, Nelson, Rich. Yeah, good. That's everyone. So good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, John. Thank you again, John, you know, for being the polyfiller man. The in-between man.
Between man.
The fill-in man. Okay, folks, so if you're a regular to the channel, you would have seen a couple of weeks ago I did an unboxing of 2 biographies that came my way on Gary Moore that I'm going to read together in parallel, in tandem, in double-decker, whatever whatever way you want to describe it, Simon.
In tandem. In
tandem.
Very good. Page of each one. Alternating.
In duet, in a duo fashion, whatever, at Christmas time. But one of the reasons why I thought too that we'd like to talk about Gary Moore is obviously the Gary Moore, the Greenie guitar, that's been really, really big in the news lately with Kurt Hammett coming out with his 50k version, his 25k version, the USA version, and again hitting the streets last week, the Epiphone version. So it's all in the air, you know, Greenie, Gary Moore, and Kurt Hammett. God bless him for being part of that whole process and continuing it because he takes every opportunity he can, not only to talk about Fleetwood Mac, but also Gary Moore. So we've been fortunate on this channel to do a few Gary Moore albums. And I was just reminding the Rock Professor before we went live, we were excited about this album when news came that they were going to release this album a few years ago. We were doing this show and this ranking of the tracks, so it was definitely an album that we had, between the three of us had slotted in to revisit or to visit at some stage. And this is the opportunity for us to do that. If you aren't aware, folks, Gary Moore passed away in February 2011. I'll tell you where I was. I was away on a fishing weekend, February being the last month of our summer here, and it was a hot weekend. And I heard the news on the radio, that Gary had passed away. And I was a little bit bummed out because Simon, as you might remember, I decided that I would spend the rest of my life dedicating myself to this music that we follow seriously in 2010. So I'd been listening to Gary intently amongst other artists for that 12-month period, indulging myself in his Blues for Greenie and also the album that he did, the Jimi Hendrix tribute, and also the Strat Pack tribute, and I was just blown away by the guy. And then to find out that he'd passed away, Simon, it was like, oh, and the guy was only a young fella, 56, 57. So, it was a tragic occurrence, and, one that a lot of people today still get a little bit saddened by, Simon. Do you want to sort of tell the folks your thoughts and impressions, what you were doing when you heard the news?
Well, to be honest, I don't remember, but that's only because I can't remember last week.
That's okay.
I have no particular memories of, but that goes for most things, to be honest. It's, I was probably busy working and, trying to make a crust and getting on with that, really. But, you're right, is that 56 is no age to die, is it? And it's a bit of a surprise when even rock musicians die that young. So, I think the one thing we can say is that rock music is quite a hard life, isn't it? It takes a greater toll on people, or seemingly takes a greater toll on people, and they tend to feel like they go earlier than maybe people who don't play in rock music. We were talking about Eddie Van Halen was only in mid-60s, when he died. So, which is pretty young, said a man in his mid-60s. So, I think that these things are a loss, aren't they? But and we kind of gear ourselves up for all those people in there, who are reaching 80 years old. They're not going to be around for a huge amount longer, are they? No. Bob Dylan and Jimmy Page, Robert Plant, they're all approaching, or in their early 80s. And, at that point, you are going to slow down, aren't you? You are going to be, be able to do it less than you did. And, there's not many more years ahead of you. Most of your years are behind you.
Yeah.
So
I think the thing with Gary Moore, I think you've hit the nail on the head when you said, you spoke about his life. I haven't obviously finished any of those books, but I've quickly glanced through them in between other reading projects that I've got and have to finish before I indulge in those, Simon. But he certainly lived the rock and roll lifestyle. There's no doubt about that, and enjoyed it, and
yeah, sure.
Took it for everything, all the condiments that comes with it, and but towards the end, when he discovered the blues around 1990 with his blues albums, when he had his lease of life, Simon, and we've ranked a couple of those albums already, and he started gaining momentum, Simon. not just in Europe and in the UK and Ireland, but internationally. As you know, Gary Moore as a blues guitarist, as opposed to Gary Moore, a member of Thin Lizzy. You know, he enjoyed that. He
Yeah, yeah.
was he was he was enjoying that success, mate.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's a really good point about him that, you know, he, he went through various stages, but he went back to his first love, which was the blues, and
No
clearly
doubt
felt
about
most
it.
comfortable in that arena, didn't he? You know, later stuff was all kind of blues, and and I feel that I'm sure he was most comfortable where his soul was at, really. He's fantastic.
I just want to again just back up a point again that our friend John ZD351 has spoken about the Greenie guitars. Uh, Look, I'm going to say this from a New Zealand perspective. The Epiphone, Simon, the rock professor, the Epiphone guitar here in New Zealand is $2,600 for an Epiphone guitar. Simon, that is a lot of money. You pay $1,300 or $1,000 for an Epiphone guitar. That's what you've paid for in the past. 2.6. That's up there. That's premium money
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
for a guitar brand. And I hate to say this because I'm not a guitar snob when I say this, but I don't see Epiphone as a premium brand, um, and that's the problem. So I'd say to anybody, if my 2 cents are worth 1 cent, Simon, I'd say save the extra and buy the Gibson, because at least if you've got the Gibson and you sell it, there's resale value. You go and buy a Epiphone, you're not, and you sell that, you're only going to get $1,000 for it, Simon. So from that
yeah,
perspective,
yeah. True. Yeah, I think it's a lot of money. It was 60, it's 15, 60, £1,500. Yeah,
wow,
yeah, 1,490 of your English pounds. Um, which
wow.
I agree with you is that's a lot of money. Whereas the Gibson one is 3,000, so it's double the price. But you're absolutely right. I think you go ordinary. Other Gibsons are much more kind of £600-700 kind of thing.
Epiphones,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Right. Epiphone Les Paul Classic for £490.
yes.
Yeah,
That's
as a
that's $900 here. That's affordable.
yeah, yeah. Whereas I mean, I don't know. And one assumes that that they've had to put on because Kirk's getting a handsome cut from each one. Would you say? I presume that's what the deal is. But it does seem a lot. I wouldn't. I wouldn't pay. I never paid that much for a guitar. I don't. I wouldn't pay that much for an Epiphone. I don't think.
Never.
Because well, the other thing I think I'm right in saying is that the Epiphone doesn't have doesn't you can't get the greeny sound on it.
Don't
It
know.
doesn't have the no. I've watched a review of it. Guitaristas who was saying that there's no reversing the phase. It's basically an Epiphone Les Paul without without the ability to do the greeny bit.
I've never done
So
this on the
so
channel before. I've never done this, but I will go and film uh, in my local guitar shop when that comes out. I'll
yeah.
film a 2 minute clip of it, and I'll put it up here on the channel because I'll be intrigued. But I don't know, Simon, but I'm not going to argue against these guys because these guys pull guitars apart. So if he's saying that, he knows what the hell he's talking about.
But no, it's true, because he got one in kind of thing, and was saying that one of the things that it didn't do was it didn't have the reverse polarity pickups. It has the not reverse polarity pickups, and and so seemingly you can't get you can't actually do the maybe you can, but maybe you missed it, but that seemed to be the maybe it does. Yeah, no, maybe it does. It says in the specs it does. He didn't seem to think it did much, but get that real quacky, greedy sound out of it. I don't know, maybe missed it. But,
Well, yeah, like I say, I don't know, but that kind of money, folks, for an Epiphone is, that's a lot of money. I bought
it's a lot of money.
my John Lennon inspired Casino, Simon, approximately 12 years ago, and I paid New Zealand dollars for that, and that was a lot of money back then. That was 1,400, Simon, and that was
Yeah.
12 years ago.
Yeah, but it wasn't 2,500 or 2,000.
No,
No, nowhere near it. No.
And again, if anybody is watching this channel and gets one and wants to jump on and say it's worth 2.5K, fine. I'd love you. But the point though that I learnt early on when I started getting back into music and guitar playing, good friends of mine, much more experienced, said, at least with the Gibson, Simon, and with the Fender, there's resale value. So if it doesn't quite work with you, if it's not quite meeting your sound, the impressions that you want, Simon, when you go and pass it on to someone else, you're never going to fall short in your pocket. So
no, you're not. No, that's true.
And that's good advice to me, because I like things in my pocket, especially money.
Well, I think all right. I think that piece of advice you gave just now is the right one, which is actually that the one to buy is the Gibson one. That is the one to buy. Because that's the one that going to hold its value. It's it's got the Gibson name on it and stuff, and I think that's right. And I think you're right about the Epiphone one. You'll better pick them up for £1,000 in a year's time, kind of thing. But even so, I don't know. There are plenty of other perfectly viable alternatives that are not even £1,000, and certainly not £1,500.
Well, that vintage brand lemon drop that I got. The vintage brand lemon drop, that I got 8 years ago.
Is that the one you put the Monty's? Is that the one you put the Monty's pickups in?
No, that I put that in my Les Paul in my
okay.
No. So the vintage brand, check it out, folks. I'll put a link here, and I know a couple of friends that have got them. Dave, who comes on here, has got one. It's a British brand, but that was the first one that came out with the distressed look with the two different knobs. It doesn't quite have the same bottom horn, obviously because of copyright. But for $900, and that's definitely got the out of phase sound and the reversed front pickup. That's worth it.
No, absolutely. And I think for I've got that my Chapman gold top. That has got the greeny. That's got a push pull that gives you that greeny sound in between sound, and that was £500, not 1,500, and I've gigged with it. It's fine as a guitar, stays in tune, so it's fab. So
hold on,
I have
folks.
anything to recommend it.
I'm gonna put up. Okay. I'm going to put up, this is the vintage brand. I'm going to go to their website. Hold on, Rock Professor. Hold on.
I'm just going to get this out because it's worth showing, I think. It's a bit of a jolly thing.
All right, folks. So if you have a look here, this is the vintage brand. Can I do that? Here we go.
Yeah, we can only see the headstock.
Let me get this. Right. So this is, look at that price in pounds, Simon. $5.49. This is the vintage. So they do two models. They do one that's got the gloss finish, and they also do one that's distressed. But this is the...
Looks cool, doesn't it? couple
They've
of
got a couple of
Monty's pickups
videos
in
on
that,
there.
and you're a couple of Monty's pickups in that, and you're away, aren't you?
So these have the Trevor Wilkinson pickups. So it's a pair of them, and they're fairly good. Fairly good. They've got the Grover tulip machine heads. So go and check out the Vintage brand if you want something that's really good, and you're going to get instantly that out of phase tone. See there, they've got the pickups. Sorry, the knobs, Simon, as per Gary Moore.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They've done a bit of there it is. There we are. Yes, they've done a bit of sort of correct stuff on it as well with the knobs.
So, yeah, go and check that out if you want something that's a little bit of because what did you say it is in pounds over there? The
Vintage.
Epiphone one.
Oh, the Epiphone is 1,499. It's £1,500.
And so you could probably get this for £500 in the UK. This one here, the Vintage brand.
Yeah. This one. Look, this is mine. This is my Shetland too with the push pull on the tone thing. It gives you that quacky greeny. I can buy one of these for 400 quid.
Yep.
On Reverb. Yeah, it's it's got Seymour Duncan. I can't remember I think they're SH1 pickups in, but they're the kind of the proper kind of that era, sort of not very high dimensions. They're not JBs or anything like that. They're the classic kind of 59 ones that Seymour Duncan do, and it sounds fine. It's got a punchy, bright sound. That's why I liked it better than the Les Paul. But as I say, it's got that outer phone. If you only want that for 400 quid, it's it's a perfectly serviceable guitar. Perfect. It's fine. Stays in tune. It's fine. Works brilliantly.
I want to pick up the point before we and we should get on with the rankings though. There that Nelson has made about the Epiphone Explorers and the Flying V's, and they're about 2.6 here to Nelson. So they're not a cheap guitar too. So if I was going to buy one, it would be one of those because everything on that is spec to the Gibson, including the headstocks. So there is no Epiphone version of a Explorer headstock, Simon. It's fully consistent with, but again, Epiphone. What are you going to get realistically, Nelson, if you go and sell it secondhand?
You can get you get a vintage lemon drop here, a new one for £389.
Wow,
which is pretty good value, isn't it?
Wow.
Yeah, they are under £400.
Wow.
It's a quarter of the price of the of the Epiphone.
Can you do me a favour? Can you put that link in the chat or send me that link so I can attach it to the description? So if anybody is watching this later on and they're keen to go and get something that's going to be, that I know from my experience is going to be a bloody good guitar, that doesn't quite look, but at least is going to get you in that ballpark of sounding like Greenie. With some change in your pocket. You'll be able to take your girlfriend out on a date. Or the missus. Or the boyfriend.
Come on. Yeah, I'll put the link to it. It's just a one I picked out.
Okay. Fantastic. All right, so we're going to kick off the show. What do you reckon?
I think we should kick off the show.
All right, so this is an album that came out, like I said, folks, after the tragic death of Gary Moore. It was an album that we all picked up on and we were a little bit excited about. It was on my playlist regularly for about 12 months, Simon. So looking forward to talking to you about it. The first track, obviously, is a classic track, and there's a lot of classic tracks on here, folks, if you've gone and listened to it. There's a lot of tracks here that you would be fondly familiar with, and that's one of the great things about doing some of these tribute albums or these albums that get released after a band breaks up or someone passes away. They tend to give us the opportunity to put together songs that maybe the artist didn't really want to sort of put out on another album, Simon, because they already had 8 covers, So, yeah, I'll put out 8 covers and, or 4 covers or whatever and have some originals. Because Gary was certainly an artist that was interested and inspired to do his own work as well as spend time celebrating the artists that inspired himself. And we've got some photos and some pics there that will prove that at half time. So Tore Down, if you're a Clapton fan, we're very familiar with the Clapton version, obviously. It's a classic song that goes back to Freddie
King.
Freddie King does an outstanding version, but most of us have probably heard at least Eric Clapton's various versions over the years, and he treats this song with a lot of respect too. And again, Simon, you've got Gary Moore coming in, stepping up to the bass and making sure that he's putting his mark on this song. And boy, you get it, don't you? Straight away you know that this is a Gary Moore song as opposed to the crunch that you get with Clapton. With this one here, you're getting that unmistakable saturated sound on the guitar. You know that this is Gary Moore after those first 3 or 4 notes, and that's what I like about it. Never released as a studio track, I understand, up until now when they recorded this. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of information that I could find. There's a lot of reviews online, folks, about this album, if you want to go and check them out, by good blues fans that I pinched a little bit of information from, but not a lot. I've given this a 9 out of 10 because it's distinctly in the tonal frequency of Gary Moore. And Simon, it's never a skip.
No, and it kind of pays tribute to one of his heroes, isn't it, or several of his heroes, Freddie King and Eric Clapton. It must have been an influence on him, both of them, and clearly sounds live in the studio, doesn't it? They sound like they're, I mean, I wonder if these are kind of, that a bit like the Rolling Stones, they kind of go in and they warm up to some things, and we'll just kind of say, so they play off some blues classics, of which this is one. And, cheers, Holly. And I think you've got them talking, haven't you, in the background? They're going, they count off and ready, Gary? 1, 2, 1. And they count off the 1, 2, 3, 4 in the background, and you've got. I mean, I don't think there's don't particularly hear any overdubs on it. I think it's, I think the organ on it takes the place of the rhythm guitar, doesn't it? That's the rhythm guitar bit, and there's definitely on this album there's definitely that guitar organ interplay that where one does one thing, and Gary plays over the top of it, and the organ is doing the rhythm parts, which is which is the way that this band seems to work. Seem to be I think it's got a great it's got a great swing to it. I think it's whoever the drummer is, good drummer, laying it down, great bass player, and cool Hammond's playing. That's a classic 4-piece, that, isn't it? Stevie Ray Vaughan, with Reese Winans on organ, and his later years doing that. I think it's a classic stuff on here. Classic call and response bits and pieces. There's some great solos. Very passionate bluesy solos, typical Gary Moore. He absolutely 100% is 100% in and on it, playing with great passion and great, and man, he can play. He can burn up the fretboard with the best of them. It's and I know it's little things like towards the end the organ plays one chord over the first two beats of the bar, and then plays three and four as stab chords. It's like D, D, like that. Those sorts of things that stuck out to me. It's been cool. And somebody shouting out "Yes" at the end. As they thought it was a good take. Me too. 9 out of 10. Never a skip. Great opening. Right. Burning.
Thank you, Holly, for asking that question. We were talking about that yesterday. So it's a little bit hush hush. John and Jim, who are very, very close to, oh gosh, the guy that runs it. It'll come to me.
Yeah, the guy who runs music.
No date has been set yet, but because we are the official channel of the EVH Con, if you haven't hit that notification button, we will certainly do a video. We've already got the video prepared, ready to go. We just need a date. So we'll release that here on the channel as soon as we get information. So thank you for asking that question, Holly. Thank you, Rock Professor. The second track is Stepping Out, and I have to tell you, when I first saw the track listing for this album, I was really, really keen to hear this version of it. We know that Gary has played this lots of times, and there's lots of versions of it on the internet, on YouTube. It's a classic song. Clearly, it goes back to the Blues Breakers album. Eric Clapton made the song famous amongst British guys, and it's almost like it's a rite of passage for a lot of guys to be able to play this song. It's a classic. The version that Clapton did with the Blues Breaker is a Brad score. I've given this Simon because of that lovely saturated tone. And I've noticed, it's a familiar tune. It's one that we all love. But he doesn't have the attack. He's not attacking it like Eric does. He's,
playing
it Gary Moore's way. And he could easily attack it if Gary Moore wanted to, because he's a full-on, cruncher when it comes to hitting those strings if he wants. But he's decided no, he's going to sort of pull it back a little bit and then let the oversaturated tones of his amp and his guitar take over and just sort of do that naturally. I like that. I love also the keyboards on this track because it gives us that parallel sort of experience to that Blues Breaker version, which is never a bad thing. If something is following someone and pulling off these elements and trying to sort of connect it and, have identifiable indicators. And to me, that's good. It's sort of like a homage, maybe. I don't know. Couldn't quite give it a Brad score, Rock Professor, but just another classic song, and made classic again by Gary's interpretation of it. It's a 10 out of 10. Fantastic track.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's I suppose the problem with doing this song is that it is Eric's version on the Beano album that started off the whole British blues rock explosion, isn't it? The Gibson, the Marshall, and Stepping Out. Because it opens the Beano album, doesn't it? It's the first track on the Beano album, and that's it, Joe Suma. So I think that that you, in a sense, because that is the benchmark of so much of the music we love, and the door, the opening of that door in a way that nobody had done before, particularly, and one feels that that doing it, you're always up against that, aren't you? You're always up against the Eric version as the benchmark of and because it has such history on it. I think it's great. It's done really well. I think the organ plays the horn type riffs on it. It's as the counterpoint to Gary's playing. It's got a pretty raw sound, which is what makes me think it's bound to be live in the studio. Blistering solo, typical Gary Moore solo again, and then back in with a classic riff to finish it off. I think it's a faithful. I give it a 9 out of 10. quite give it a 10 because I think Eric's is a 10, and I'm judging it against that. It doesn't quite have the history, and I think
Well, I could
you're
give
going to
a
shoot
10.
me. Going to shoot
I
me.
no 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 no. I could give it a 10 because I gave Eric's version a Brad score. So yeah, we're on the
Oh,
same
way.
track.
I can't remember. I can't remember what I gave Eric's version, but are you sure you gave it a 10?
um, thank you, and thank you, Holly, for giving us your rankings week in, week out. Your support again to our channel and what we do here is always appreciated and never taken for granted. None of the support that you guys give us here weekly, Holly, John,
Fantastic.
you know,
Ellen,
yeah,
great.
you guys are all important to what we do here, and
Yeah.
thank you for hanging out with us and being part of the chaos and the mayhem and the little bit of fun that we try and provide. The second track is In My Dreams. Now, when I was doing
third track.
third track, is it? Sorry, yeah, the third track, In My Dreams. Now, I was doing some research on the album, folks, and like I said, there's not a lot out there except for a lot of other people's reviews. And I'll be honest, I don't tend to like to read other people's reviews before I do something because it does have an effect. It does have an effect on the way that you look at songs and albums. And I know that for a fact. And so that's why we know that what we do here on this channel, albeit in a small way, does have an effect on how people perceive albums too, because it does with us, Simon. You know, so hopefully what we provide here is more of a positive experience. It's generally what we want to achieve. But I did find out by quickly reading one article that this was the album single, which is interesting. Because they picked, in my opinion, probably the best song for a single, because this is the song, in my opinion, folks. If you're familiar with Parisian Walkway, if you're familiar with the first album that he came out with in 1990, that blues album, that had that famous single, It'll Come to Me. Ding, ding. Yeah, it'll come to me. Sorry, I should have made a note. I should never see. This is the point that I was making to you about senior moments earlier in the introduction. How we all get older and that we forget things even though we think of things. So just remember that when you're talking to musicians in their 70s and 80s. Okay, point taken, Simon. But anyway,
point taken.
Okay, so we'll run with Parisian Walkway. If you're not familiar with that song, go and check it out because that's one of the defining songs as far as setting up the tone.
You mean Still Got the Blues?
Still Got the Blues. That's it. Thank you, Rock Professor. And Still Got the Blues dovetailed Parisian Walkway. This is the song, Simon, for me that dovetails into those two songs. It's just fantastic. It's got that same kind of vibe. I love the subdued, delicate, fragile vocals that Gary Moore provides on this track. It's so unlike Gary. And when I hear of these things, when I experience these things when I'm listening, I get this mental image of this man with eye buds in his face and these white things hanging down from them. And it just haunts me. It just haunts my subconsciousness saying, contrast. I must have contrast. You get the point that I'm making.
Scary, actually.
You get the point that I'm making. So this is what I love about this track. We get so much contrast in the vocal performance, especially from Gary, from the previous songs with his vocals. I love it. It's an incredible song, Simon. It's 10 out of 10, and it's probably going to be, I think, maybe in years to come, and with I Still Got the Blues and Parisian Walkway, it's going to be in that league.
Yeah, agree. I think that's something. It absolutely is that slow blues that's like Parisian Walkways. It has a kind of melody reminiscent of Parisian Walkways, for sure. And I can see why, because that was a big hit for Gary, Parisian Walkways. I can see why you would put this out as a sort of, because it's an echo, isn't it? It's a familiar territory. People hear it and go, Uh-huh.
Can I just interrupt and say g'day to Bob Dobalina, a bomb bang go, Bob Dobalina, the ding dong dang,
Oh, bop, bop, baloo, bop, bop,
a
bam,
bob bob
boom. Yes.
bang. He's a good friend of mine. Good to see
Morning,
you.
Bob.
Good to see you, Ruben. Thanks for hanging out, brother.
Yeah, cool.
Sorry, Rock
Nice.
Professor.
No, it's fine. So I could see why it's a single, because of the Parisian Walkways vibe, feel. It's got strings on it as well, which I presume are keyboards. I don't think there's keyboard strings. Um, and he comes in the first verse. He plays no guitar until the third line. Sings the first two lines um, just with the backing, and then he's got those stabbing, stunted chords under the singing, and as you say, really heartfelt vocals. Really yes, heartfelt is the word, and so singing really well, and with the guitar playing, responding to the vocals, classic kind of uh, 90 seconds film. I bet we sound weird on double speed, John. Uh,
So let's
yes,
talk
yes, don't.
really slowly.
So that John's double speed. Anyway, stop that.
Welcome to the
Yeah.
ARSM show.
We don't want to send them off to sleep any more than we
Oh,
can
okay. All
already.
right.
Got great organ playing on it as well. The organ playing, very much that kind of rhythm guitar type part that he does. Great solo, great soaring, melodic, lyrical solo that he plays. It's a classic Gary Moore thing. And the fourth verse I've written down. He's put another instrument playing with the guitar. I don't quite know what it was, but could be another guitar possibly, but could be something else. And that fantastic long held note at the end, that massive sustain, which is fantastic. 10 out of 10 for me. Never a skip. Oh look, we've got, yes, look, it's the 5150 show dog, Pepper. Ah, me and my friend.
The showstopper.
There you are.
Sorry, Rock
Holly,
Professor.
need to put that on a mug for sure. Yes, you see, all shows. That pedal show had that pedal show dog. We too have the 5150 show dog. See how we steal things from other bigger channels, make them our own.
We'll talk about YouTube and the conclusion too later on that we were talking about earlier during the week. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah, yes, indeed, mascot Holly, absolutely, yes. So yes, 10 out of 10 from me. In My Dreams, one of the standout tracks on here is great stuff, and plays brilliantly. And,
In my dreams.
dreams. 10 out of 10.
You know,
Never a skip.
when you're a young fella, things were always in my dreams.
I think yes, that's right. I think it's interesting, isn't it, that once you get into these albums, the late 90s, 2000s albums, there's rarely a skip, is there, on these albums? They have a tremendous consistency and quality of playing and of song choice and songwriting that I think maybe was a bit less so in the 60s, when 60s and early 70s, when I think the quality could be a bit more variable. So consistently high quality stuff on this album, like lots of other albums, modern albums, really good.
Hang around, folks, for the towards the end of the show, because we're going to talk about some experiences I've had with YouTube over the last couple of days that you might find a little bit interesting or entertaining, and we'll be obviously as respectful as we can be. The next track is the title of the album, How Blue Can You Get? And obviously that harks back, if you're a blues nut, if you don't know this, to a famous B.B. King song. And we all know how important B.B. King has been to a lot of these blues guys that we love and follow and are inspired by. Gosh, the list of guys inspired by B.B. King is as long as our arms, Simon. You know, it's Peter Green,
Yeah.
Eric Clapton, Jimmy Page. The list is just endless. Simon Williams, Andrew Walton, Bob Dobalina, John ZD351, Holly Lewis, Brad Cook,
Fruitcake Tony.
Fruitcake Tony.
Morning, Fruitcake Tony. Morning, Fruitcake. Good to see you.
So, Clapton did a wonderful album, back in 2000, Riding with the King, that we've ranked on this channel as well. So don't underestimate, and also Bob BB's classic album that everybody recommends, rightfully so. It's live at the Regal. Certainly worth listening to, and certainly an album that's on our list to rank too, because it's influenced so many artists. So we'll definitely touch that album, tackle that album next year. But getting back to the point of why we're here, the rankings of the tracks. Go and listen to that intro, folks. The intro is just fantastic by Gary. It's a classic Gary Moore opening track. It's very much in the vein of B.B. King, which is really, really good. Hey, Phil, good to see you, brother. It's
Morning, Phil.
Outstanding to go and listen to. And there's one thing that I'd like to point out, folks. One of the key ingredients of the song is the bass and the drums on this track is just doing exactly what the bass and drums in a blues ensemble should be doing. They're not doing anything out of what they are doing by just keeping that beat, Simon, in the pocket and letting that guitar and obviously the singing take center stage, especially on this track. That's a remarkable achievement for the rhythm section. It's a masterclass Simon and blues guitar playing for me. I was pleasantly surprised when I first heard this, when this album was available. I think I listened to it, Simon, 3 or 4 times in a row before I followed the next track, because I just thought it was fantastic. And, it's a point, sometimes that we forget, even though we just spoke about Parisian Walkway and still got the blues, where Gary does play slow notes and does hold notes and has a beautiful vibrato, and there's some other songs coming up. But, it's really nice to hear that he's not relying on some overdrive or saturated tones just to get that technical touch. He's definitely got it, Simon, and he displays it in all its power on this track. I can't give this anything other than a Brad score, Simon.
Oh, look at that. I know what you mean. It is, isn't it? It is. I mean, the way he plays the B opening is classic kind of B.B. King opening. I mean,
Wow.
Absolutely, it's like Phil's comment, influence on the Smurfs. Nice, Phil. But I think that clearly, it's although he soon breaks out of that, and gets into a bit more of his own style, but it is that influence, that BB King thing, because it's a BB King. Well, it's not a BB King song, but he had a hit with it. BB King first had a hit, but it's first recorded in 1949 by Johnny Moore. Johnny Moore's Three Blazers. There we are. But it's basically it's a tribute to BB King. It's lots of versions. He doesn't do he doesn't do vibrato in quite the same way as BB King, though, does he? He's got his own vibrato that's not quite the same, different, but lovely inventive blues phrasing playing on it, and that kind of stop start bit at 3 minutes that give a bit of contrast. It's just I don't think there's any organ on it. I think it's just basically a three-piece: bass, drums, and you know, and guitar. I agree. To 10 out of 10 and never a skip. It's a classic bit of and at 7:15 he's able to stretch out and play some long inventive solos over them, which are great. So definitely worth ah, depends where you are, John.
Awesome. We'll rank the next song and then we'll flick some photos and some pics up for you folks.
Let's do some let's do some photos now because we're halfway through.
Oh, okay. All right. So bear with me,
I
folks.
I feel
we've got a couple
I feel like we've arrived at the end of side one.
We've got a couple of pics here for you to have a look at. So this is obviously the cover, which came out. That photo there of Gary with the Les Paul, that is obviously not the greenie. This is a photo that's taken a little bit later. But love that photograph. That's the photograph that's the cover on one of the biographies, White Knuckles, The Life and Music of Gary Moore. That's on the cover. And again, they've got the orange there. So if you notice, folks, I've said to you before that we pinched the orange, not because of Pornhub. We pinched the orange on the channel because of Led Zeppelin's orange and also, Gary Moore. So, oranges as a colour in the blues world has a history, Simon. Where are we? Okay, so this is a photograph of Peter Green playing his greenie. And this is one of the reasons why this guitar is famous, is because this guy here has a reputation of playing Les Paul guitars, but he also owned that guitar for a while. He immediately purchased it after Peter Green had it. And we've got a couple of videos here on the channel, and if you're watching on a replay, I'll even put some links here for you to go and follow, where we've spent a whole show talking about it. Here's a photo here of...
You've set the chat off in a brilliant way.
Here's a photo here of Gary with Greenie back in Thin Lizzy in 74. And we haven't done a Thin Lizzy song, Simon, or album, have we?
No, we've not done any Thin Lizzy yet. You see, we're running out of albums. Just adding them to the list.
I just thought I'd throw this on. So this is a guitar magazine that came out a couple of years ago, and Gary Moore still features in a lot of guitar magazine covers. This is Guitar Techniques. It's a wonderful magazine. They offer a lot of lessons and a lot of scales and give you some pointers on various artists in its monthly issue. Has gear reviews, but when they talk about, for example, Gary Moore, the journalists, the writers are pretty well on the spot, Simon, when they're talking about gear and the history and the legacy of anybody that features on their front cover. So they get that done really, really well, Simon. Guitar Techniques, good British publication.
Is that a picture of Gary Moore on the cover? Is that a picture of him?
That's right, and from '82 when he was
when he was
rock and roll.
Yes, I know. It doesn't look very like him, does it? It's a
yeah. So that's Gary. Have I showed that photo? No. So that's
John wants to do Live and Dangerous. Yes, John.
Awesome. That's a photo of Gary recording around the time Greenie, and that there is the Greenie guitar, folks. And there's the album there that he recorded. It's another masterpiece, and we've ranked that on the channel too, folks. So I invite you to go back and watch that show. It's one of our best shows. You'll notice if you follow the channel, I put a community post up, Your Desert Island Guitar, and I had a photograph of a Stratocaster and a Les Paul. And the last time I looked, most of the people had picked the Les Paul as their Desert Island guitar. One of the reasons why I was intrigued is because Gary Moore is famous also for playing Stratocasters. If you weren't aware.
Yeah. I never quite think of him as a Strat player, I have to say, but.
And there he is there.
I was in the minority. I did go for the Strat on that, but.
And there's a famous, well, in my mind, it's famous. Just like he did Blues for Greenie, he did Gary Moore Blues for Jimmy. They had special guest appearances, Mitch Mitchell, Billy Cox of the Jimi Hendrix Experience on this. And again, the Rock Professor and I and Brad do look forward to ranking this wonderful recording because it's just fantastic. And if you want to see a guy unleash on a Stratocaster, Simon, go and watch some of the videos. My gosh.
Yeah. Yes, it's interesting, isn't it, that he is sort of known for both, isn't he? I must say I can't quite divorce him from the Greenie thing. I don't know about you, but I can't divorce myself quite from the. I always think when I think of Gary Moore, I do think of the Les Paul more than the Strat.
When I think of Gary Moore, I think of that.
Precisely.
Just like when I think of Jimi Hendrix, I think of Jimmy Page. When I think of Jimmy Page, I think of Jimmy Page with the Les Paul, never with a Telecaster, Simon.
No, that's right. And not a Strat, although, as we discussed a couple of weeks ago, on Presence, he played a lot of Strat on Presence. And the whole of the first album is done on a Telecaster, not on a Les Paul. So,
yeah.
But you are right. So, he's synonymous with the Les Paul.
Fantastic. All right, so that's all the picks. That's the picks we've got. So are we on to side 2 now, are we?
We're on side 2. What technically is side 2? Oh, I'm in the wrong place.
Fantastic.
Yes, looking at your picture is the next track.
Looking at pictures, looking at your picture. Okay, folks, you know that we always try and be honest here amongst all the bullshit. There's, you know, we try to cast things under a spotlight, don't we? You know, I mentioned to you folks before, I took a sneak peek at a couple of articles to try and get some information on this album. And I have to agree with a couple of little comments that were made by other people regarding this track. This song goes nowhere. And it's for me verging on just about unlistenable. The first couple of times when I first heard it, it was just this cacophony of noise going on, and I skipped it. I skipped it a lot, Simon, when I first had this on my Spotify. And revisited it again, and then listened to it a few times in preparation for a couple of weeks for this show. And again, I just have to go with my gut feeling. I couldn't warm to it. The only thing that is redeeming about the song for me is the saturated guitar tone, which is pretty consistent for Gary. The rhythm I found out why, listening to it, one of the reasons why I don't like the song at all is that the rhythm section's all over the place, Simon. It's instead of being in the pocket doing what the rhythm should be doing, the rhythm's just doing this thing over here, and Gary's trying to play the guitar. It's just like, the best way I can describe it is that they can't hear the PA and they can't hear their monitors, and they're playing in front of a big crowd, and everybody is doing something and they're not following the song. It's go and listen to the song, and if I'm being too harsh, please let me know. And I don't even know what the rock professor's going to say, so he might kick me in the bum too for what I'm saying. But it's just all over the place. I there's no method for me. There's the only, like I say, the only thing that I like about the song is the guitar tone, which in itself isn't enough to give it, more points. Other than, I think this is the lowest score I've given. I think Parchment Farm might be the lowest score I've ever given on a
Yeah,
on a
that didn't go
show.
well on a, yes. Didn't go well
But
for
I'm
us, did
giving
it?
this, Simon, 5 out of 10. It's an
Ooh.
awful song, and more often than not, I think I'll skip it. It's certainly not one of Gary's memorable tunes. So I do look forward to hearing what the Rock Professor, and in particular Elaine, have to say.
Yeah, like I said, I I'd written down it that kind of open tuned guitar. It sounds like it's like a distorted resonator to me. Sounds like I got a resonator and I got it into an effect kind of thing, some kind of distortion thing, which basically get out that tremendously deep kind of yes, kind of distorted sound of it. And my feeling about it was that I thought what I'd written down was that it was a kind of mood piece showcasing the guitar sound. I've got a, I'm in the studio. I've got this cool guitar sound. Let's write a song around the guitar sound, which probably isn't the best way of approaching something. I don't know if that's true or not,
I
but
think
I
you're right.
feel that was kind of my feeling about it. Is that it was, I've got this cool guitar sound, so let's do a kind of, let's write a song around the sound of a guitar, which I can understand. I've probably thinking about it a bit more. I think probably other things, they always say songs are in guitars and stuff. So, I don't know whether that's true, but that was kind of my feeling about it, was that I agree. It's probably the weakest song on the album, isn't it? Is the thing. It has that one thing, and probably could do with being a minute and a half shorter. It'd be all right if it was, 3 minutes 30 or something rather than 4.5 minutes, whatever. But it's got some reasonable singing on it and things, and a sort of fuzzy slide solo piece. But as I say, for me, it's a mood piece showcasing the guitar sound, and that's what I thought of it as a thing. I gave it a 7.5 out of 10, but I wouldn't skip it. I quite like the sound of it. Yeah, it's at
Yeah.
least a
Well,
contrast to what's gone before and what's going to come. But so I can understand its kind of conclusion. It's not the second last track on the album, which is where it should be.
well, that was the
um,
next point I was going to make. It should be the
yeah, yeah,
second to last. It shouldn't
yeah,
be
yeah.
put in the place where album filler should be. It's definitely the second to the last track. That's the category. But Alan's given it a 5 out of 10 as well, so we're on the money there. The Rock Professor's given it 7 out of 10. So look, we're in the same vicinity there, but I would sometimes skip it. The Rock Professor wouldn't, so that's okay.
Fine. I'm not a great skipper of songs. If I'm going to play an album, then I'll play an album, and and take each song as as it comes. I tend not to skip things, but I won't read too much into that. But
Uh,
it's as I say, I think it's just a mood piece for the guitar sound, and you know, I can understand why it's it's ended up on this as a kind of you know odds and ends album rather than one of his official releases when he was alive. Probably, I don't think a producer would have gone, yes, that's going on, definitely.
Yeah,
As I say,
Alan
I don't think that's
should
the
skip it
case.
too, and I'm going to cheat midweek. I'm going to send Brad a message and ask him to give his rankings, because I'd be keen to see in particular what he has to say about this, because I'm pretty sure where he might be sitting on a lot of these other tracks. So anyway, getting this disaster over and done with,
Yeah.
folks, out of the bag, out of the ear frequencies, and shaking that earwax out of your. That's another good thing. It might be just good for getting the earwax out of your ears. Maybe, I don't know. Sorry, Gary. We love you. The next track is "Love Can Make You a Fool."
Yeah, that deep vibration.
Again, I found out through flicking through the biography, because what I did is I cheated, folks. I went through the index for my original research and went through the album to see if they said anything in the biography about the album, and they don't really. But I did find this song. So this song is a favourite song that Gary played back in the early 80s, recorded on an album called Corridors of Power, that I don't know anything about, folks. So I never went back and listened to the original. I'm going to save that when I go through and do the biography, and just I'm one of these people. This is what I do when I'm reading a biography and they make a reference to a song. I listen to the song straight away when I'm reading the biography, and that kind of gives the biography extra meaning for me. So I don't have any guidelines to go for, other than when it was released on the Gary Moore website. It says that it was taken again too from the 82 Corridors of Power, and this is where, Simon, the rhythm section can make or break an album, can make and break a song, Simon.
Mm-hmm.
This is where the rhythm section are back on track after the debacle of the last song. Here, they provide that bounce ability that Gary needs, and that Gary has to have, I think, for him to perform as a musician and as a singer. Clearly, he likes that. I love the vocals on this track, Simon, from Gary, and at 2 minutes and 20, that incredible solo where he just has that touch and dynamic and that force and precision, and then he can turn the volume down and you can hear him just hitting the notes during the verses, Simon. He's just one of those great guitarists, and again, this proves to me what you've been saying. This is recorded live, and then you can hear that during the solo, he's just turning up the volume on the guitar. And again, I'd like to hear what the Rock Professor has to say about that, and/or Brad, whether or not that's exactly what he's doing, because that's what it sounds like to me. It's a fantastic song. Apparently, again, from a friend of mine who I was speaking to, said that this version of it is far superior than the original version. And I was really tempted yesterday, because I was talking to him about, what we do. I was really tempted yesterday to go and have a listen to it, but I'm not, because I wanted to come on and sort of give you a little bit of excitement about this. Not quite a 10 out of 10, Simon. Not a Brad score, but it's 9 out of 10. I love the touch and dynamic that he has on the guitar solo. Thank you for listening to me.
I don't think I as far as I'm aware, I don't this is a Gary Moore original, isn't it?
Yes,
it is. It's not there isn't an original the original version of his. You mean him doing it originally?
Yes.
Okay, on that Corridors
from,
of Power.
From what I understand.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's right. Yeah, because this is the track that sort of he redid, isn't it, as a kind of it's as a sort of synth pop ballad apparently on Corridors of Power. So it's a completely different reworking of it on on here as a blues song. I didn't go back and listen to the original either. I didn't go and listen to his original version. I don't think. I didn't. I quite often do, but I didn't this time. I just took it at face value that it was another blues song, and um, it's what can we say? It's more of the same, isn't it? It's great, great. It's got a great soaring opening over bass drums, and the organ is back for this song, and got great solos, stellar emotional guitar solos. Full of Gary Moore stuff. It starts off slowly and builds in intensity and speed. It's he's giving it a lot at the end. There's some discords at the end every now and then, but they don't detract from it, from the soul of the playing. So it's great, and who could complain about a big ending like this track's got? It's got a really big ending at the end. I gave this a 9 out of 10 and never a skip. It's a great track. Get back on track. After, yeah, cool track.
I'm just putting up a little bit of a contentious
Back to
comment
you,
there
Dr.
for
Morton.
Nelson, because I don't want Nelson to go down
Really?
a rabbit hole. So, Nelson, we have proven that the second track theory is wrong. Trust me. Second to last track.
we, we now say it is a joke more than anything else, because we've discovered that a small number of albums, the second last track is not very good, but on most albums it's fine.
Yeah.
Damn.
Done Somebody Wrong is the next track, folks. And again, I was really, really excited when I saw the track listing to hear this. And one of the great pleasures we've had on the channel is that we've ranked the Allman Brothers live at Fillmore on this, and we've spread that show over 2 weeks, over 2 shows, folks. And again, I invite you to go back and watch that, because again, it was a wonderful show that my co-hosts and I presented to you. It was one that we all got behind, and I think a lot of people in the chat were certainly enthralled by this album. It's the Allman Brothers album has gone down in history for all the right reasons as a great album. And when I saw this on the track listing, Simon, I was really excited to see what Gary was going to do with this. And boy, it's an Elmore James song. It's a classic. It goes back to one of the originals. Elmore James, again, has inspired countless guitar players, countless musicians. The list is probably twice as long as B.B. King's list, Simon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, he's up there, isn't he? Elmore James, who was one of the great blues influences on all Fleetwood Mac particularly, and but anybody who's ever picked up a slide guitar is going to be influenced by Elmore James, aren't they?
Brian Jones, from the Stones, learnt to play slide guitar. Was the first guy in the UK to play slide guitar. Because he'd been listening to Elmore James, and within 6 months you had just about half of London playing slide guitar, Simon. You know what I mean? It almost seemed like that, and that goes back, in all honesty, there'll be other routes off the track, but we can comfortably say that Elmore James is the daddy of it all. And thank you for listening to me, folks, for wandering on these. So Dwayne Allman, he gives a running commentary just about of every song that the band is performing, and he reminds people this is an old Elmore James song, and somebody done somebody wrong, and it's wrong. With that southern drawl that they do, and it's fantastic. It just adds that depth. And boy, I tell you what, I don't know about you, Simon, but when I first heard it and I listened to it, at least a dozen times over the last couple of weeks, Gary on slide guitar, my gosh, and he can do it, and again, I was just thinking, you don't think of him as a slide player, just like Clapton. We don't think of Eric Clapton as slide players, but boy, when you think about them playing slide guitar, and you can hear it and go and watch some video of them playing, they're not bad, eh?
It's one of the classic weapons in the blues band's arsenal, isn't it? The slide guitar, open tuning slide guitar.
Yeah, they're not bad, and and I think I put Gary in that same category. It's just about Simon for me, a perfect song. I love the groove, what they capture, what Gary captures on this, which is surprising. And again, it's a point that the Rock Professor likes to remind you about, folks, that getting the groove, not every song can have the groove. But when you get the groove, it's like a really important thing, this groove thing, and it also comes back to sort of being before the beat or after the beat. Or the Rock Professor will remind you, or call it the swing, and the Allman Brothers have got it. The Allman Brothers have got it innate into them as a reference point for this song. And this song captures those elements, Simon. I don't give a damn what you say or anybody else in the chat says. It's got the swing.
Okay, boss.
No, I'm just joking. It's got the swing. It's just about a perfect song for me. And again, some people will tell you from what I've read, and I have to agree, that this is probably his best vocal performance on the album. I just think it's fantastic. Definitely one of the standout tracks. I would have made this maybe the single. If I was the producer or the manager, Simon, I would have gone with this as the lead single. I think it's phenomenal. Brad score. Rock Professor, take it away.
Yes, the interesting part is that it's quite short, isn't it? As a song, 3 minutes 44, tight, focused, organised. As you say, that kind of slide over that shuffle bass and drums, kind of, but giving it plenty of swing. And I think, as you've said, that's the important thing about this. Really, is that it's a pretty standard blues song and done really well. Nice slide interlude and a really good slide solo. But in the call and response guitar with the vocals, classic blues sense. But it's that swing, with the organ playing as well, the organ stabs. That swing that gives it its momentum, gives it its style. It's yes, really. I mean, I'm tight, focused, organised. I agree with you about should have been a single, and I think it should have been, and I think it's a 10 out of 10 and never a skip from me too. Absolutely
fantastic. So that's the second to last song.
It is.
So Nelson.
Yeah, see? Oh, well, a tightly focused 8 songs, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. See, I always proofread my message. Okay, so John ZD351 is
Proofread my massages. I like the fact that Ellen is scoring for her and Holly as well.
It's a chick thing. It's
We like this. Yes.
Yeah. It's and I get
very
it.
Cool. I think that's very good. That's the way to do it.
That's the way.
Get your friend to score it for you is a good idea.
Right. that's definitely definitely a chick thing. Yeah. And I mean that nicely and respectfully.
Funny.
I'm sure you guys get where I'm going with that. That's great. Living with the Blues, Simon.
Yes.
Is the last track. So I've got a couple of notes here that I want to share with you fine folks. For me, this is a classic Gary Moore ending, last track to an album. Everything you thought it should be in your mind, if you're a Gary Moore fan or you're familiar with Gary Moore's music, that should be in a song and a number is in this track. It's he's got these vocals that are forcible in its presentation for us to listen to, but they're not pushed vocals, which is something that he can do, but he tends to do live a lot. He doesn't tend to push his vocals, Simon, in a recording situation too much. And he allows that, because he does that, he allows himself, especially on this track, on some of the words, to sort of come out as a character, Simon. Mick Jagger does that a lot, and you don't get a lot of that with Gary, but on this track there are hints that he's trying to do that. He's trying to present a character through his vocals on this track. I mentioned to you guys before, Gary turns down the volume on his guitar a lot. And on this track, you can hear it too. You can hear him turning his volume down and brushing the strings, and they come through the pickup. And then you can hear that he's just turning up maybe from an 8 to a 10. It's just a small variation. And then he just kicks into that classic Gary Moore crunch that we're familiar with, Simon. And then we have also that vibrato, that unmistakable Gary Moore vibrato, which is a fast vibrato, Simon. You know, you mentioned it before. You know, he doesn't have a B.B. King vibrato, which is like a stinging, Gary's vibrato is his own. And then he provides space in between the notes as well. It's a remarkable piece of musicianship that this guy's got. And he's saved it all for the last track, Simon. And, I think it's a remarkable song. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say about it. I've given this a Brad score.
Hey, excellent.
Hey,
Yes.
Steve. Say good day to your dad for me, please.
Morning, Steve, and morning to Charlie S. from Jersey.
Oi, Charlie. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you, Charlie. Thanks for joining. Yes, I mean, this is a classic Gary Moore melancholic ballad, isn't it? Again, another soaring intro, bass and drums. And here we are. Here's my observation of it. It's in 3/4 time, and then side 2, and side 1 ended with the B.B. King song, which is in 6/8. So he bookends both sides with that classic 3/4 6/8 time signature for the slow ballads, or some of them anyway. So, and I think that gives it a swing. 3/4 definitely, waltz time gives it a swing. I'll note you talked about his guitar vibrato. There's also his vocal vibrato, isn't there? He's got that vibrato, which I'm a bit equivocal about, I have to say, as a vocal technique. It's okay. It's not my favourite vocal technique. I could, it reminds me of all those people like Whitney Houston and stuff that drive me nuts with their kind of vocal vibrato things that I don't find hugely exciting. But nevertheless, it's fine. And as you say, you've got that verse with the call and response, and the guitar turned right down. You can hear him turn it down under the singing when he's doing the singing, and then turning up. Great slow burning solo at 3 minutes, and with the organ sound underneath underpinning the solo, giving it filling in the space, which is really good. And and it's a great, and that cool, that slow down for the end, and really cool guitar solo at the end as well. So full of passion, full of heart, typical Gary Moore stuff. Inventive playing, That's fantastic. 10 out of 10 from me. Never a skip and a great finisher to what I would call a proper album. 8 tracks, fine. Value for money
Yeah,
in anybody's book.
great album, and certainly, an album that I would point somebody that wanted to hear an example of contemporary British electric blues. I'd certainly quite happily point them to this album. And like I say, it'll be one. There's a couple of tracks on here that, in my opinion, will be measured up there with some of the greatest single songs that Gary has done. And again, Simon, you and I and Brad, we've been very, very, very fortunate to do a few Gary Moore albums on this channel, and there's a couple more that we do look forward to doing. That Blues for Jimmy certainly is one I know that we've spoken about doing too at some stage. So, as the Rock Professor laughed about and joked about a little bit before, folks, we're not running out of albums or artists.
I've got a page full of artists that as I keep a note of. Yes, I've got a page full of people that of albums. We've done some of them, but we haven't done all of them by a distance. We haven't done any
And we
George
look forward
Thorogood, for instance. And we haven't done any Thin Lizzy. We haven't done any.
No.
Oh yeah.
No. So we do look forward to counting down on this endless list. And that reminds me of reminding you fine folks too that our Christmas show is coming up soon. We haven't had a date yet set for it, but Brad and I and the Rock Professor will give you a date, and we tend to stream for 8 hours to take into account all the friends that we have internationally that may want to jump on, and we look forward to that. If you want to jump on, so you're more than welcome. We can send you the link and you can jump on. You can spend 5 minutes hanging out with us, or you can spend 3 or 4 hours if you want. We're allowed 10 people at once on one stream, so we've never had to do it yet. We've never had to ask someone to leave so that someone else can come on. So just bear that in mind, though, folks. If you do have a link and you're in the green room and you can't get on, and there's 10 people, one of us will ask someone to go after a little while. Look, someone's got to go because we've got 3 people want to come on. So I just want to remind you about that. And if you want to come on that show, hit me up, hit the Rock Professor up, hit Brad up, and we'll throw out those invite links. There's a couple of rules if you want to come on the show with us. Obviously, no politics, please.
No religion and no swearing.
Well, religion's okay because it's the Christmas show. So, you know what I mean. But yeah. So, no politics, and we've learnt from last year. Yeah, we won't do any videos. We're not going to show any videos because you guys might remember we did this 8-hour show, and we got blocked completely because we showed
Yngwie Malmsteen messing about, didn't we? Yeah,
that's right.
He got upset.
So we lost 1,000 views from that show because I had to edit it out and then reset it up as a separate video, which I'm going to swear here pissed me, Simon, and Brad off a lot because 1,000 views for a Christmas show. Well, it was over 1,000, Simon.
Yeah. John makes a very good point. I think the other thing is headphones. Headphones.
Yeah.
Headphones. Even if they're, just the wire. I mean, I use them a lot. The wired headphones, just with ordinary Apple or whatever headphones. It makes a tremendous difference to the sound and to shouting across the room at your laptop is not. John, you're right. And meet your connection if you're not talking. Yeah, that's good. But the headphones, I think, absolutely, John, is absolutely the thing. Yeah.
So So we'll let you know, obviously, when we have that date. We'll announce it here on the Ranking of the Tracks show, and then we'll set up that link. We just need to, between the 3-4 of us, pick that date. And like I say, we'll stream for 6 to 8 hours. We look forward to it. It's always an important part. And you can come on, talk about the year that's passed,
Please do.
hopes
Yeah, please
and
come on.
aspirations that you have for the year to come. The Rock Professor and I and Brad, we do our top 5 and worst 5 things of the year. So if you want to come on and talk about a couple of the great things that have happened musically, and a couple of negative things, that we can learn from, that might be an opportunity as well, Simon.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, John, Holly, Ellen, please all come on for 10 minutes and give us your top 5s, and that would be really exciting and really nice, because we count ourselves very much a community channel, don't we? We have quite a lot, Jim and
Yeah.
John have been on, and
Yeah.
and Hugh Caldwell's been on, and Andy has been on. We have lots of people on, and I think that's one of the really nice things about this channel is we do have people on to, within the framework that we do, lead on albums and stuff like that. It's really cool.
Yeah, haven't seen Jim for a while, have we?
Oh, Jim's all right. Jim's enjoying his retirement. So hats off to you, Jim.
Awesome. So,
Yeah.
you folks, so I mentioned like YouTube before, how somebody claimed complete copyright on us showing a video. It wasn't the songs, it was the video that another channel had put together of Yngwie Malmsteen's performances. And what these people on this channel were doing is they had mimed and done skits over the playing, and they were pretending to be, in a hilarious way, Malmsteen. And because they owned the video, YouTube were bound by copyright under their guidelines to, if people say, because I own it, I want to block it completely, did. And that's fine. That's wonderful. So if you guys weren't aware of it, about 6 weeks ago, we lost monetization because I was uploading videos that weren't edited enough as far as YouTube's guidelines go. So I take that as a lesson. I've mentioned it to you guys before here. I understand now what we have to do to get monetization back, and we'll do that. But what was interesting, if you're a content creator, you would have got an invite to participate in a survey that they do with content creators. So we have everything, all the privileges that we have as a content creator behind the scenes, except for monetization. So I participated in that. What's really interesting from YouTube's point of view, from the surveys, they're really worried about other platforms. All the questions were about Facebook, Instagram, other platforms, how you upload. Do you work in conjunction with all these other platforms? TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. What's the other one, Simon? There's another one that's out there, Tumblr.
Twitch.
And Twitch as well.
Twitch have recently allowed you to multi-stream with YouTube. They never used to do it before, but recently they've allowed, so you can stream on Twitch and on YouTube at the same time, and on Facebook and on other places. But yeah, Twitch is another one of those that's allowed it.
So I've filled out the survey as honestly as I could, but when it's when it spoke about YouTube, asking about the priorities that you have as a content creator, providing entertainment, providing a community, getting reimbursement on the time that you put in. And I think what's really interesting from YouTube's perspective, Simon, is they put out these little surveys, and it makes them think as the big daddy that they're participating in something, that they're giving everybody an opportunity that's a content creator to take part in. But I'll tell you one thing. Folks. They don't make it easy for little channels like us. Like the Rock Professor will tell you, we've had a video up, the video that we played last week. So we got a notification 2 days ago, 2 days after it went up, that the copyright had been claimed with the song. It was the Wilco guitaring from Dr. Feelgood. So I muted the song. So it still had the video. Then 2 days after that, we get another notification from YouTube saying the actual video, the whole video has been claimed.
Yeah, you can't show the pictures even.
So they say that, and this is where it's a little bit frustrating and interesting, because they say to you that you haven't infringed on copyright, because we have had a copyright strike that was playing 30 seconds of Van Halen at Donington, while that guy Gooch copyrighted us. So we got a copyright breach. So we've had one copyright breach that only lasts for 3 months, and that ended 4 days ago. So YouTube will send you out notifications saying you haven't broken any copyright. It just means that somebody else claims any monetary gain that they can get from the video, i.e., if anyone chooses to put to advertise a product or service through it, and they can get privy to the analytics of the video, so they can see how many people have watched it, where around the world can. But it doesn't affect copyright. And I'm sitting here going, but those were the same messages you sent to me when we were uploading videos before you took our monetization away from us.
Yes. Yeah, as if somehow it's made a difference, but we're not making anybody off it anyway. So the hard lines.
So the Rock Professor and I and Brad, we've been messaging over the last. So we'll never ever show videos again on this channel. As much as we'd love to, as much as we want to, all we'll do is show stills, and we'll go to other websites like we did today when we showed the guitar Simon. We'll go to other websites, which as far as I know is still legal. You can still do that. Yeah, until we get copyrighted or get told off by YouTube. So the point that I want to make is, yes, YouTube helped us once we reached 1,000. We know that. They pushed us in the algorithms. But, what were we... How many subscribers have we picked up this year, Simon?
I don't know.
600?
600 or 700, 800, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we were about 9,100, and then we're 9,800. So we've picked up 700 subscribers this year. And again, we're thankful for any kind of algorithm push YouTube have done for us. But I want to make it quite clear, from where I sit, YouTube are only ever going to support the big channels, the personalities, the fluff channels. They're never ever, as much as they say that they're here to help serious content creators, nah.
Perhaps we're not serious enough for them.
Yeah, nah. That's just my grief. That's my whinge.
I
Be
agree.
very careful.
Think what we found, isn't it, that it's very difficult to navigate through this stuff. You get very generic messages back from YouTube, not specifically about what you did or didn't do. It's very difficult, for us to navigate through that, to decide what we did wrong, what we didn't do wrong. I think that, that claiming 100% of everything, whilst I understand, people own their songs and stuff like that, to take it all away from us for a 30-second clip seems a bit unfair, especially as we're promoting things. You know, if people go away and listen to, you know, the tracks and stuff like that, that's what we're trying to persuade people to do, aren't we? We're trying to persuade people to go and listen to Gary Moore,
Wouldn't it
Dr.
be
Feelgood.
wouldn't it be
That's it.
great if we could have one track from one album on every show
Yeah.
we do as an example? And go and listen to Gary Moore, go and listen to Dr. Feelgood. And because we've done a show here, a couple of hundred people have watched it, and Dr. Feelgood have sold 50 CDs, Simon.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Yes, I think we, you know, it's very difficult to know the effect, but you know, if people went away and listened to the album, then they get a few, you know, get a few pennies off of it. You know, we're contributing, and it's the old argument, isn't it, about, you know, not many people these days hear about Dr. Feelgood. They're not played on radios much and things like that. Therefore, you know, I feel like some recognition for us keeping the name alive, pointing people at things like that, you know, more obscure albums like that, is actually should be a bit more recognized by YouTube rather than it just being a, you know, oh, well, you've played 30 seconds of, you know, Wilco Johnson doing this, you know, because actually it's about, yeah, you're right, Holly, it is about the money, honey. But
And that's a good
I
point,
still,
Holly, because for the last 3 months, you know, the
it
couple of
hasn't
dollars
been.
that we might
Or
make on the channel, and I'm being realistic here, so isn't going to the channel. It's all, the whole lot now is going to YouTube. So YouTube, you know, they talk about fair use and all that. So where's the fair use of the videos we're providing and the entertainment we're providing? So yeah, YouTube.
yeah. Well, and also
They're still clipping
they're
the
still
ticket.
monetizing us. They're still making money off the back of our video with their adverts. We just don't see any of it, so they just get it all. So in my book, they're interested party in banning us for 3 months for making any money off it, so they can make it all themselves. Am I being too cynical?
No,
Possibly. I think that's, you know, it's a bit of an outrage, really, and I
but
don't, you know.
but yeah, you know, as the lead content creator here, I just want to let you guys know in the chat, you know, we won't be doing any videos anymore, and if like a couple of the videos that we put out that we made in relation to 24 Nights, they weren't edited enough, so I took them down. And if you guys aren't aware, Simon will back you up. We lost, because I had to go and change and hide and delete videos, we lost 200,000 views.
We did. This is a real, it's just a blow, really, isn't it, to your, you know, your, you know. But we carry on, you know, we
Yeah.
carry on. We're going back.
So
But
thank you, YouTube, for allowing us to fill out a survey and making us feel part of the team. You guys are awesome. Thank you, YouTube.
10 out of 10 YouTube and never a skip.
Never a skip.
Oh dear. So,
Holly,
yes,
well, look, it
it
could
is
be
depressing,
depressing, but we're sharing it with you guys. And as I said to Simon a couple of days ago, we do this for one thing only, to let you guys know, because if you guys want to go out there and do your own YouTube thing, you know, we're not experts, but just be careful. Just be careful about what you
we
put
gain
on,
an experience.
what you present, because YouTube will get you.
Punish you.
Are we out of here,
I'm going
Simon?
punish. I think it's we've kept them for long enough. 1 minute, 1 hour, 54 minutes. Oh, let me say goodbye to everyone in the chat, and we'll take it. So thanks to Ellen, to Holly, thanks Holly, John, ZD351. Great to see you as always. Thanks for your feedback. Stuff we've had back up the top here. What else has gone to sleep? Quite rightly. Steve-O, 12, Snyder, nice to see you. Charlie S, thanks Charlie for dropping in from sunny New Jersey. Nelson Rodriguez, thanks Nelson for you for being here. Who else have we had going further up? Ellen, Holly, Nelson, John. Lots of cool comments from the guys. Phil S, Norwich Guitar, nice to see you, Phil. Thanks for dropping by. Fruitcake Tony, thanks for dropping in, Fruitcake, and saying hi. Good to see you. Bob Dobalina, good to see you, Bob. Thanks for dropping in and saying hi. Let's see. I've got everybody. Might have Gretch Zeppelin as well. Gretch was around earlier, so good to see you, Gretch. Thanks for dropping in as well. And that's hopefully, I hope got everybody. Hope I didn't miss everybody. Yeah, thanks everyone for dropping in. Great comments as ever. Great participation. And remember, if you want to come on for the Christmas show, please do. It'd be great to have as many of you on as possible. It'll fit you in.
So, well, that's depressing. I hope that comment's not in relation to this clickbait photo, Holly. I know that. I know what she's saying that comment for. Look, if you guys have missed Brad, we have. It's always a pleasure to have Brad on. But like I said, folks, we want to do a special shout out to the Backdoor Man. He's out making money. So we'll play. This is what Brad looks like. It's an old video, but it's well worth it. Hang around. Watch this. And then we'll play the original video when we say goodbye. We love him too, Alan. We love him too.
Yes.
Thank you, Gretch. You guys are awesome. Thank you for hanging out with us. See you. Oh, Brad. Oh, hold on. Let me check.
It's Brad's pick next week. Did he say what he was going to do?
I sent him a message. Hold on.
And whilst you're there, amazingly, I know what I'm going to do in 2 weeks' time as well. I hope he hasn't stolen my idea.
He wants us to do Rubber Soul.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yes, that's the apex of Rubber Soul. That's fantastic. Yes, we'll do Rubber Soul.
Wow, what a great pick.
Yeah, and I've got my pick for the week after as well, but I'm not divulging it yet. I should tell Dr. Walton in the green room afterwards.
My God. But, I'm going to write some superlatives here for him that I can't share with you guys.
No. Mind your language.
It's a dude thing. I just sent one of it's a dude message. You're dying to know, aren't you? Maybe if you come on the Christmas show and hang out in the green room, we might tell you.
It'll be, yeah, man, cool. Choice.
Rubber arsehole. Rubber soul.
Thank you, John.
Bye-bye.
Take care, guys. Have a good week. We'll see you next week for Rubber Soul.
Thank you.